Hey Reddit, what was your weirdest, scariest, holy crap, I can't be friends with this person anymore moment? Fat ugly friend is finally getting cute girlfriends. Much younger, but still in their 20s, then 19, then 18, then younger, come to find out. He's been feeding them heroin. You know, it'd be fucked up with just the heroin, but what really does it is the fact that once he realized that it was working, and he could get any girl he wants, he drops to children. Comorbidity in action. How pissed would you be if I ran over your dog? A few minutes later she started lightly smacking him on the nose to try to get him to bite her. This close to running her over with a car. Broke up with a girlfriend when she kicked my dog. It was coming anyway, but that got me into the mood for the conversation. When I was younger, a friend did this to my dog. We were best friends at that time. When I asked him why he did this, he said something like, "Because it's so funny to see him flying." I told him that I didn't want to be friends with him anymore. He then started to talk bullshit about me in school like I'm a racist and something. He was from Kenya. All this talking gave me a pretty hard time in middle school. I hadn't seen the friend in about a year. He had moved to take a new job. When he gets back into town, I invite him over to have a beer and hang out. When I am not in the room, he steals a few checks out of my checkbook and writes down my driver's license number from my wallet. A few weeks later, he fully steals my identity, opens up a handful of credit accounts in my name, and writes checks all over town. It drains my bank account and causes all kinds of havoc. Luckily, he was caught and I got most of my money back, but it took me about a year and many headaches to get it all fixed up. After his arrest, he contacted me and had the balls to ask if I would drop the charges so he wouldn't have to go to jail. As he put it, friends forgive each other. I laughed at him and told him I forgive him, but he still needs to take responsibility for what he did, which in this case meant going to jail. How long did he get sentenced to? And did he offer any explanation as to why he did it? He ended up getting sentenced to 15 months. As it turned out, he had an existing warrant for beating up his girlfriend. I knew nothing about this girl or that warrant. This all happened when I was out of touch with him, so he ended up cutting a plea to get the 15 months. When my then best friend got in an argument with his girlfriend and physically restrained her in a chair in our apartment, refusing to let her leave. Also, he stole weed from me. I'm in recovery for anorexia, and weight gain is just part of it. As I went from underweight to a normal weight, they started telling me, and other people when they thought I couldn't hear, how fat I was getting and that I was letting myself go. They were some close friends of mine at the time and that they knew about my anorexia. I had this friend when I was in high school who obviously had quite a crush on me. He told people we were dating, though we weren't, and called me cutie an awful lot. But we discussed it, and I'd made it clear that I was not interested. He said he'd get over it, and we remained friends. After we graduated, I didn't see much of him, but we continued to chat over email every now and then, and I moved on with my life and found myself a spouse. One day I collected the mail and found a small box. It had no stamp and obviously hadn't been sent through the postage system, so I was a little concerned, but when rattled it seemed innocuous enough. It turned out to be a silver charm bracelet with a small heart on it. There was no sender listed and no note, which was creepy, but I figured it might have come from a relative or something, as I have a lot of aunts who are known to do such things. A few days later I got an email from my old friend asking if I'd liked his gift. I was pretty shocked and more than a little disturbed, as I'd never given him my address, and figuring it was best to just be straight with him, I told him that I had a boyfriend and so sending me gifts was not okay. He told me he already knew. He'd seen us. He then sent me pages and pages of what I can only describe as smutty comics describing my boyfriend and I together. How he'd touch me, the sounds I'd make, in dozens and dozens of scenarios. Needless to say, we are no longer friends. When I let my best friend live with me for free, she smoked all my cigarettes, ate all my food, found my stash of cash and stole it to buy beer and a cab ride to my boyfriend's, David, house. They had sex when I was at work. When I came home, she said she wanted to go back home because she missed her family. I get a call a month later from her saying she's pregnant. I congratulate her, assuming it was her fiancé's. Nope, it's David. I tell her I am disgusted that she could do something so low. The whore replied with, "Why can't you be happy for me instead of being a jealous bitch?" When I passed out on his bed, I woke up to him naked and trying to tie me to his bedpost. Luckily, my best friend walked into the room because he was looking for me. He just had to take one look at me and know none of it was consensual. He then proceeded to beat Mr. Naked's ass. Something similar happened to a friend of mine, but she was saved by a complete stranger. She was eating at a Sonic with her window rolled down, and some guy came up to her car, put a knife to her throat and groped and fingered her. Some random thug riding his bike through the parking lot saw the scene, got off his bike, came up to the car and knocked the rapist out cold in one punch, then stomped the shit out of him. The rapist guy actually dropped the knife into my friend's car and it cut her shoulder a little as it fell. After all was said and done, she became friends with the thug. When she called me a baby killer the day after I had an abortion, I should have seen it coming, honestly. She kept telling me how I was glowing and how I was going to make a great mother, even after I told her my decision. Then she got desperate and tried to force me to have her adopted so I would stay pregnant. Super fuck that. She was the terrible person. If she is that desperate to save a fetus, there are plenty of people who could use assistance out there who want to carry to term but need some help. If she wants to save an actual, already living baby and not just a clump of cells, there are so many kids who could be fostered or even adopted. But that type of person usually doesn't want to waste their time on older, not so cute, no so white, not so neurotypical kids. Those kids exist to punish silly poor people, especially women, who dared to have sex. You are brave and considerate. You are strong. You knew what you wanted as well as what you needed, and followed through. Despite the shit people like your friend love to try and damn people with, you are still here. You are awesome. My best friend, her boyfriend and her 8-month-old baby were homeless. Me and my then boyfriend, now husband, picked them up and let them stay in our tiny 1-bedroom apartment with our dog. We spent a lot of money buying food, buying gas to take them to different agencies that could help them pick up their belongings from some crappy neighborhood that they were living in. Got her multiple job interviews. Bought diapers and some baby formula for them. One day my friend sat me down and told me that my boyfriend stared at her, and it made her uncomfortable. I told her, he was probably looking at the baby. I stare at the baby too, babies are cute. We want one of our own one day, she said. He's not allowed to look at my baby. I really don't think he's a very nice guy and I think you deserve someone better. I was floored. At the time I had a crappy job, so it was mostly his money we were spending on them. She told me if I didn't break up with him she would leave. I told her that she needed to leave. Turns out she stole a lot of my clothes and went into our room and stole most of the change we had in a jar. Not cool. I am no longer friends with her, and my husband now has trouble trusting my friends when they are over. I had a very conservative religious friend recently. I tolerated the end-time prophecies, conspiracy theories, and all sorts of batshit insanity. Then he told me he didn't believe dinosaurs existed. I don't know why that of all things was the nail in the coffin, but I just can't talk to him without thinking he's mentally unstable. I feel like an a-hole about it because otherwise he's a really stand-up guy. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.